on your lips. Alrighty. Oh, okay. Christopher Kroll. And the connection is good. All right. How do I mute myself? Like, da,
Two finger stick.
I'm hilarious.
I do think so.
Oh, you're just mean. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pima County Health Department School Health Update. I'm Chris. I will be the facilitator of this meeting. If y'all have not already, for our school partners, if you can please make sure that your microphones are muted and to put in your chat your name, title, and what school/district you're representing. This is just for our own notes so that we know who is attending our calls. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So we don't really have any announcements, but we have an update with our epidemiologists, as well as a heat safety presentation. Our consumer health and food safety is going to go over mosquitoes and drowning. And then Kavina will be talking to us about the Youth Mental Health Summit. And at the end, there will be time for a Q&A. But if you have any questions in the middle of anybody's presentations, please feel free to put it in the chat. But we also will be giving space at the end of the call for folks to come off mute and ask their questions if they have any that come up. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move over to our epi update. Megan, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Chris.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So we are providing the respiratory update for COVID-19, RSV, as well as influenza. Next slide, please. So here we see our respiratory data for RSV. As you see here in pink, we are increasing in the number of cases that are being reported each week. However, this is overall 71% lower than what we usually see for year to year with RSV cases. Again, RSV does affect children ages 1 through 4 mostly, as well as the next age group, which is 15 to 65. Again, we are seeing that major increase and a delayed start, just like we did last season. So it's kind of shifted since we've had the vaccines available from earlier in respiratory season, more towards later respiratory season. Next slide, please. Here we see influenza in blue. And you can notice there we're seeing a second peak of influenza. So we saw one at the beginning of our respiratory season, and now we're seeing it peak again. We did go down, but now we're going back up. So we are seeing an increase in influenza. It is becoming 15% more than usual. So it is becoming a bigger season this year. Not drastically bigger, but it is becoming bigger. And again, our numbers showing that ages 5 through 17 years old are most affected by influenza, taking up 33% of cases out of all influenza cases that are being reported. And then our next age group is the 18 to 49. Next slide, please. And we're seeing COVID-19. We're not seeing any large peaks like we have in the past. We're seeing just steady COVID cases here highlighted in kind of this yellow-orange color. We've had a total of 1,909 confirmed cases this year, which is actually 96% less than usual, and that's including the initial pandemic numbers. So we're going to slowly, as the years flow, start seeing this average that skyrockets off our screen. We'll start seeing that go down once we get past the initial pandemic when COVID-19 was discovered and spread. Next slide, please. So here we have a combined view of all three major players when it comes to respiratory diseases. You can always see the link down below. Week to week, we do update this. So hopefully later today or tomorrow, you'll see this week's or last week's numbers populate, and you can always click that website when our school's meeting isn't happening on a month. Next slide, please. Just a gentle reminder that we do have a new portal for GI reporting. It's just like our respiratory portal, but this is specifically for unknown GI, or if you have a known GI illness happening in your school, to go ahead and report it. You can report individual cases as well as the outbreak itself through here. This is HIPAA compliant as well as FERPA compliant. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call here at Epidemiology. Next slide. Again, this is just the code for reporting schools of what's reportable and the information that is reportable per individual case, as well as the outbreak itself. And you can see here is diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting as part of that unknown GI or just GI in general. Next slide. Some helpful resources available, not just for respiratory, but just basic hygiene sharing that you can print out. It's available in multiple languages. Provided here is examples of English of covering your cough. Poster provided for free by the CDC, as well as when to wash your hands when you're at school for the younger folks, where visuals are more important as they're learning to read. Again, you can click the links down below and you'll be able to access in a wide variety of languages. You can post in bathrooms and throughout your schools. Just a gentle reminder for everyone during this season of proper etiquette to help minimize disease and spread. And I believe we have one more slide. And here we have a bunch of links, very useful to help out when you're not able to reach us or just wanting to look up some generic information. Again, the respiratory data, both from the state as well as Pima County, is available. The state has this wonderful app that you can click on. It provides all kinds of information for students and school providers about different diseases that are there. Infection control measures are in here, incubation periods, how diseases spread, all organized by disease. You can look through. It's a nice little flip chart, and ADHS also has one available through PDF, which is that second link. And again, CDC's information when it comes to vaccinations and immunizations. If you get asked any questions, you can refer parents or teachers and students to those websites. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to give epidemiology a call, or you can give us an email, epi@pima.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Next, next on the call, we have our Arizona Heat Safety, Betsy and Nate. Are you on?
Hello, this is Nate here. I'm on. Betsy is on as well, but I believe I'll be doing most of the presentation today.
Awesome. Well, the floor is yours.
Yep. So my name is Nate Young. I work in the Office of Heat Response and Relief alongside Betsy. Maybe she wants to say hi real quick as well.
Hey everyone, you might have remembered me. I gave this presentation last, oh gosh, when was it? Last late summer, I believe. So nice to see a lot of familiar faces.
Yep, and happy that we're getting ahead of the heat season this summer. But if you go into the next slide, you can see that it may not really feel like that. Every year for the past several years, we've continued to break temperature records here in Pima County. We actually just ended the warmest winter on record, so that goes from December through February. We now have a new warmest winter on record. Just last week, we broke a couple of daily temperature records near the end of February as well. And so we can see that these temperatures have steadily continued to increase over the year, not just over the summer, but across the whole calendar year. But in terms of extreme heat, it is a series of days that are hotter than the average for a certain area. Everyone is affected by extreme heat. Some people may tolerate it better than others due to their exposure levels, due to some of the mitigation measures they have, or just kind of due to their physiology. There are different factors such as age, weight, medical conditions that can kind of affect how one person is able to tolerate the heat. Which is how we know that some people are more vulnerable. That includes infants, children, seniors over 65, pregnant women, people with chronic conditions, people who take certain medications, the unhoused population who are exposed to it more than the average person, outdoor workers are all priority populations for us here in the health department. And we actually just had a heat summit that the city of Tucson hosted where we heard from youth during a youth panel where they stated they feel it in schools even. Whenever water fountains are hot, whenever they're outside playing for recess, playing sports, sometimes they may even feel it in the classroom or the hallways. And so we know this is something that our youth are concerned about as well, and that they also feel the effects of. Next slide, please. So heat in Pima County, the average summer temperature is going to be over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We had 112 days straight of 100-degree weather in 2024. Last year was one of the warmest, it actually was the warmest year on record in Pima County, but luckily we didn't have as long of a streak as 100-degree weather. But between May 1st and September 30th, 2024, we had 787 heat-related hospital visits and 101 heat-related deaths. We are working on our final report for 2025, and those numbers actually went up last year as well. We had around 893 emergency room visits in 25, and we had about 117 heat-related deaths here in the county. And so we still continue to have record-breaking temperatures that are being forecasted. And in 2023, that was actually one of our biggest years for heat-related deaths in youth and young adults, where we had 34 deaths between the ages of 15 and 24. I believe we also had an infant death that year as well. Next slide, please. So the heat season kicks off in April and runs through October. We're actually planning to have our big heat relief partner kickoff on April 1st this year. We don't really have a set end date for the heat season because it really depends on what trends we are seeing. But we know in 2024, we had 100-degree weather extending all the way past mid-October. It cooled off a little bit earlier last year, but it was still hot outside. And so we always like to point to the National Weather Service and the NOAA in order to make sure that we are informed on what the weather is looking like. We direct our partners to look at them as well. And what they will do is they will kind of issue two different kinds of heat alerts. So the first one is going to be an extreme heat watch, which is when dangerous heat is possible, but not necessarily confirmed. And so that's whenever, once they have that alert go out, we do let partners know, we try to let the community know that, hey, it looks like this may happen, so please start planning, please start preparing for this. An extreme heat warning is when it's confirmed, we know it's coming, and so that typically comes out 2 to 3 days before the extreme heat event will occur. And that is whenever temperatures are expected to be very high, typically 108, 110 or higher. And it is very important that people have a plan to stay safe, that they're inside as much as possible. They're limiting their exposure to the sun, they're limiting their time outdoors. And if they don't have an access to a cool space, they try to find places they can go to, like a cooling center, family member, friend's house, somewhere they can go to get relief from these extreme temperatures. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of those extreme heat warnings. This was actually published last year, August 3rd on 2025. If you look up the National Weather Service, they actually have a monitoring station here in Tucson. And so Tucson gets really good data on the weather, all of Pima County does. But what they will do is they will issue a graphic like this. It says that hot temperatures are coming. Please make sure that you are staying safe on these days. They will let you know what the duration is, and you can actually see the affected areas as well. We know that typically heat gets worse in urban areas due to the urban heat island effect, which is where buildings, concrete structures, they kind of absorb and retain heat during the day, and then they emit it at night. And so oftentimes that means that if the temperature is 108, 110 during the day, it's going to be above 90 degrees in the middle of the night as well, because even though the sun isn't out, all of that concrete is radiating that heat. It is absorbed all day, making sure that temperatures are staying high even at night. Next slide, please. And so this is just another example of some of the graphics that they post at the National Weather Service. It kind of shows you the specific areas and what the chance for extreme temperatures are going to be in those areas. And so please make sure that you're looking at these for your schools as well. So that way you know what risk you may have, not only for the children, but for staff and outdoor workers. Pay attention to the timing because that's very important. And just keep in mind that it is hot all summer. And so even if an extreme heat warning is ending and we have kind of gotten through that event, it's still going to be hot outside, where even though it may not be 110, it still might be 104, 105, and those aren't really safe conditions either. Next slide, please. And so what they will actually do is they will categorize heat risk by location. And so this is something where if you go to their website, you can actually type in your school's address, you can type in your home address, and you can see what the specific heat risk is for your location. It goes all the way down to minor or no heat risk, but we're going to talk about major versus extreme. A major heat risk is when heat-related illnesses for most of the population are possible, and it's especially true for those who don't have access to hydration or cooling services. It means there's going to be little to no relief at night, which means air conditioning is necessary. Fans and open windows may not be enough because, like I mentioned, if temperatures are in the 90s, the high 90s, all that's happening is hot air is blowing into your house and heating up your home, even though it may be 2, 3 in the morning. So we encourage people to drink plenty of water, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, avoid outdoor activities during the warmest parts of the day, and stay in air-conditioned locations. Extreme heat risk are going to be pretty similar, except the risk is going to be more extreme. And so that means that for the entire population, everybody in Pima County is at risk. This is a prolonged heat event that is very dangerous for everybody. It also means there's going to be little to no relief at night. The conditions are likely going to be worse. And so they have a lot of the same recommendations, except we're recommending that people also cancel things like outdoor activities for that period. And also to check on your neighbors, check on your coworkers, just check on the people around you to see if they're safe. And if they do need assistance where maybe they don't have working air conditioning, they don't have a safe space to go to, you can actually direct them to our website at pima.gov/heat, where we try to post community resources for people to access in times like these. Next slide, please. And so, yeah, this is that heat risk tool that I mentioned. You can get your local heat risk. It is location specific. And so just because one area of the county may be at a moderate risk, that doesn't mean everybody is safe. There could be a specific school in Tucson that has a major risk. There could be another school that has an extreme risk. So we recommend that you go to this website to see what is going on in your specific location. And like I mentioned, you can go to our website. You can go to cdc.gov/heat risk. To kind of find some more information on what you can do for heat safety. Our website will also have links to local resources as well. Next slide, please. So some tips you can take and share with those around you or to make sure you're drinking water regularly and consistently before, during, and after physical activity. It's also just a good habit to be doing it throughout the day when temperatures are extreme. I've got my second cup of coffee for the day here. That is not something that keeps you hydrated, so make sure you're avoiding sugary, caffeinated, or alcoholic drinks. If you're sweating a lot or you're being very active, it's a good idea to maybe add some electrolytes into the mix or maybe put some salt and minerals in your water as well. And then another way that we like to message out is that there is no simple answer to determine how much water a specific person needs to drink each day. Like I mentioned, it can vary by how large you are, whether you're a man or woman, how active you are during the day. And so something you can do to see if you're hydrated or not is to check your pee. This is actually a little sticker we have on the left side we give out. Kids love it. You know, kids are going to love anything that seems a little silly like that. But just in general, the lighter color your urine is, the more hydrated you are. And so if you have overly yellow or even darker colored urine, that's a sign that you need to kind of, take a break, drink some water, and stay out of the heat before you resume any strenuous activities. Next slide, please. And so in terms of what to wear over the summer, wear loose, lightweight, and light colored clothing. Natural fabrics like linen and cotton can help keep the body cool. Make sure you're using sunscreen and other forms of sun protection like hats, umbrellas, or sunglasses. Something that comes with the heat over the summer as well is a high UV index, which means it's easier to get sunburns and can increase your risk for skin cancer whenever you're outside as well. And so make sure that you're covering up, covering your skin, using that sunscreen on places that you cannot cover up. Next slide, please. In terms of some basic first aid strategies, we have a handout that we like to give out. You'll see the other half in a second, but it goes over two more major kinds of heat-related illness. The first one being heat exhaustion. In terms of symptoms, you can see things like people getting faint, people becoming dizzy, having a rapid or weak pulse, a cool, pale, or clammy feeling body, excessive sweating, are all signs of heat exhaustion. If this happens, we want to make sure that we're acting fast, getting people medical help right away if they're throwing up or symptoms have been persisting for longer than an hour. Have that person take small sips of water, remove them from the heat. You can fan them, use cooling towels to place on their forehead, on their armpits, or anywhere else that radiates heat. And really the idea is to just kind of remove them from the heat so they can cool off before it progresses into something worse. Another kind of common heat-related illness that may not be severe, but definitely isn't fun, is heat cramps. That's like a Charlie horse, or whenever your muscles tighten up, it can be very painful, very hard to move. When that happens, stop whatever your activity you're doing, rest, make sure you're hydrated. It happens when people are not properly hydrated or they need to replenish electrolytes. You can stretch the muscle, massage the area, and then once the cramps have stopped, it's okay to kind of slowly resume activities. Make sure you're staying hydrated. And if you start to feel sick or that person starts to exhibit other symptoms, I would recommend just having them stop that activity just to play it safe. And then the next slide, we'll go over heat stroke, which is one of the most severe forms of heat-related illness. That's when people are actually passing out, they're fainting, they have a very rapid or strong pulse. They may not be sweating because they may not have any fluids to sweat, and so their body doesn't have a mechanism to cool off anymore. Their body temperature is actually going to be dangerously high as well, often 103 degrees Fahrenheit or more. When this happens, it's kind of beyond the point of bringing them inside and hoping they'll cool off. We need to call 911 and act fast. We still want to get them, indoors if we can, into air conditioning to kind of prevent further damage. But we don't want to give them anything to drink because it can actually upset them, induce vomiting. And so we don't want to do that. We just want to call 911 and wait for emergency services to get there as soon as possible. And so especially when the condition is not improving for people, if they can't take fluids, if they're confused or unresponsive, that goes beyond just trying to cool them off, and it needs to be moved to emergency services at that time. You can place them in the recovery position, you can keep them lying down, and then you can also monitor for signs of stroke or trouble breathing. But the important thing is to get them medical help as soon as you can. Next slide, please. So preparing for emergencies, these are some supplies we recommend people to have, is to make sure you have some water bottles. Electrolytes are also great for people who have been sweating a lot. Squirt bottles filled with water is good because you can kind of use them as misters as well to help people cool off. Ice packs are great, especially in the moment when you're getting overheated. Disposable or cooling towels are really neat tools we like to give out during outreach, where you can just kind of wet the towel, wring it out, and place it on the body. It'll help that person cool off. It kind of mimics the mechanism behind sweating, whereas the water evaporates. It's cooling you off by bringing that heat with it as it evaporates. Fans are all right, but we always want to encourage misting fans. A fan by itself with no humidity and no water that you're spraying on the body or anything like that is actually just going to blow hot air around. And so really the fans need to be paired with humidity, and so misting fans are going to be the best for that. Shade structures are also great because you're taking people out of that direct sunlight exposure. And yeah, it says so at the bottom. Fans and spraying with water typically only works if heat index is lower than the body temperature, which is 97 degrees Fahrenheit. If the heat index is 100 or above, you're really just blowing more hot air into that person. And so we don't want to do that. Next slide, please. Some medications can also increase heat risk. A lot of us know that heat can actually ruin some medications like insulin, but in turn, people who are on certain medications can actually have a higher intolerance to heat because the medications can raise people's body temperature, it can prevent sweating, can lower blood pressure, which reduces the ability to remove heat from the body, can change your heart's output and heart rate, it can reduce your awareness of heat, or it can just increase your risk of dehydration and fainting. And so we have a list of medications of concern where if you're taking anything on that list, we would encourage people to talk to their doctor on how it can impact them and strategies they can use to stay safe while taking that medication. Next slide, please. So a few other tips. You can sign up for weather alerts from the National Weather Service. That heat risk tool I showed earlier is also on the National Weather Service site and is a great thing to kind of reference throughout the summer. Move outdoor activities or things like fire drills to earlier in the day to avoid the heat. Really, the heat starts picking up at 10 a.m., but we encourage people to kind of finish those really strenuous activities before 7 a.m. if it's possible, just because of how hot and how quickly it gets up in the summer. Limit the use of heat-producing appliances like ovens during the day. Another strategy is to eat small meals throughout the day. The body actually finds that more manageable in terms of your metabolism. And so eating a large meal and going outside can actually reduce your ability to deal with the heat in that moment. So small meals can actually be best if you know you're going to be heat exposed. Don't rely on fans. Like I mentioned, they may just blow hot air in your face if the temperatures are too high. And for people who are concerned about having access to cooling, there are home weatherization programs, air conditioning repair, utility assistance programs that are available to people for free. They just have to reach out and ask. There's also an electric moratorium where from June 1st through October 15th, the power company is not actually allowed to turn anyone's power off. And so if you know someone who, they come up to you and say, hey, this happened to me, that's actually illegal. They have rights to have power, to have cooling over the summer, and so you can kind of direct them towards that, and they can seek an avenue to get that corrected. This QR code is going to have some info about heat safety and where to find cooling centers. This is the pima.gov/heat site that I mentioned earlier. We're going to update this very soon with our new upcoming 2026 cooling center partners. And so some of this information is outdated, but should be updated probably around April sometime. And that's something that's a great resource to share with the youth, to share with your peers on how to stay safe during the summer. Even if you don't think you need a cooling center right now, there may be a monsoon that knocks off your power for a day, and you may find yourself in need of somewhere to go. So I would recommend everyone to give it a look and kind of make a personal plan on what to do in an emergency as well. And that should be all I have. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You're also welcome to reach out to Betsy and I at any time. We try to be responsive and helpful to answer anyone's questions. And so you can reach us at our emails or our office lines, which are listed on the screen now. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nate. So next we have Enrique with mosquito awareness. Enrique, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Enrique Zarate. I'm the current program manager for consumer health and food safety in the non-food permitting area. So that includes lodging, schools, mobile home parks, and did I already say pools? I think I did. I also do I oversee the program that takes care of mosquito surveillance. So just some reminders with the upcoming season about mosquitoes and how we can kind of try to prevent them on school campuses. You can go to the next slide. So mosquitoes and in the season of the desert, although our roughly should be technically May to October, it's really going to depend on weather patterns and how the weather is shifting every year. So some years we start surveillance earlier, sometimes we start it later, but it's going to be roughly from May to October. You can go to the next slide. Now, the reason we're having this discussion really is to talk about the fact that in some seasons there can be upticks in mosquito-borne diseases. As can be seen here in this chart, we have 2021, there was an outbreak of West Nile virus that really kind of increased from previous years. So the surveillance is really to try to get ahead of this and just keep an eye on the current mosquito populations and just make sure that we are always trying to keep those populations down in the case that something like this happens again. Can go to the next slide. The number one way to prevent this, though, is going to be preventing the mosquito bite in general, right? Even when mosquito-borne disease does occur, in some cases, it doesn't always cause illness, but in the case that it does, it can be very bad. So again, preventing the bite is going to be the biggest thing that we want to do. These are some ways that we can try to do that. One of the easiest ways is going to remove any standing water. Anytime there's standing water, they say that you only need about a bottle cap of water for mosquitoes to breed. So any water that's really on the campus can really be a breeding site for mosquitoes. In the case that water cannot be removed, we always recommend using vegetable oil that will help kind of set a layer over the top of that water. So that way, the mosquitoes still need air, but if there's a layer of oil over the water, then there's not going to be air accessible to those mosquitoes. You can go to the next slide, please. This is kind of the main graphic that we always show, and it's pretty standard across the US. They show all the places that water can be standing on a property. Again, this is a little more focused on homes. I have some pictures that we can look at that are a little more focused on schools. But again, we have some pebbles here. We have the water that's kind of just dripping and running all the time. We do have the bird fountain, bird bath. Just some toys, wagons, tires, anything that can hold water, really. Next slide, please. So some of the places that I first thought of when I'm thinking of school campuses, I remember growing up as a kid and going to school here. There were sometimes these tire marks in random places where water would just kind of sit because the sand is so tight and packed here that sometimes water takes a very long time to be reabsorbed back into the ground. We also have clogged drains. If there's any clogged drains around campus, sometimes there's a lot of water sitting there. Anytime tarps are used really anywhere around a property, there's the potential for it to catch water and hold it here. That bottom right picture is a tarp that's placed over some equipment. I think it's like a table and chairs. Maybe they were setting up for an event or something. And it looks like there's water that's kind of trapped in that gap between the two. It's a little hard to see here, but there's water right there in that section. And then anytime there's litter or any kind of like furniture, anything stacked up, not like that picture on the bottom left, that can be areas where there might be water that's sitting. Now, something I did want to remind people is a lot of the times it's for a mosquito to kind of, go from larval to full adult, usually it takes anywhere from 7 to 14 days. So the only time we're really worried about standing water is if it's going to be there for longer than a week. If there's ever any time that water is sitting longer for a week, then it should be taken care of by being removed or using that the vegetable oil in some way. Next slide, please. Now we know removing water is not always going to be, it's not going to always be easy to do. So the next thing we could try to do is repel the bite. And by that, it could be either students using some kind of mosquito repellent if they are going to be outdoors and playing. Clothing can also be used if we kind of talked about clothing in the last one with the heat presentation. But we would recommend the same thing with light colored clothing, especially if it's in hot months. But you can use long sleeves or pants of some kind that will cover the skin area so that way they are less likely to be bitten. Loose fitting as well. We wouldn't recommend tight fitting because the mosquito is going to have an easier time getting through that clothing. Another way to do this is possibly, if there are a large population of mosquitoes at the time where students are trying to play outside, is maybe shifting the play sites indoors or another location where they are going to be protected from mosquitoes. Just another option, again, in case mosquitoes are ever very bad, to the point where maybe you're noticing a lot of the students are getting bitten a lot. Next slide, please. This is kind of the summary for this whole discussion, right? We talked about dressing to protect students. We talked about repellent. We didn't really get too much into the window screens, but if schools are using windows for ventilation, we want to make sure that they are screened. That way there's less of a chance of mosquitoes getting through windows or any openings that might be used for ventilation. And then just checking the campus or checking any locations where there might be standing water. Next slide, please. We'll go ahead and start talking about our drowning prevention, which I think has been discussed previously. Not in the same format, but these are some resources that we've been providing to Pima County in general. It's based on a campaign we're running to try and lower the amount of drownings that happen in Arizona in general. Go to the next slide. So Arizona is one of the highest locations of child drownings. I don't know if it's just the fact that we have so many pools that are accessible here, especially with the heat, but Arizona is considered one of the highest states with a drowning problem. So we really have focused on putting this campaign out there to try and reduce this and make the community a little more aware on ways to prevent child drownings. Next slide, please. The campaign is considered the ABCDs of swimming, and it stands for adult supervision, barriers is B, C is for classes, and D is for devices and drains. Next slide, please. We'll talk a little bit about all of these a little more in depth. So A is adult supervision, right? A lot of the times families go out to the pools. They'll bring everyone together. It's kind of a festival, maybe all at the same time, people partying, people having fun, right? But we do need to remember to always have someone that is really watching the kids as well. So that way there is some supervision there in case something happens. Drowning can happen very fast, and often it's not always a loud occurrence. Especially if the kids are submerged under the water, it's hard to sometimes hear something like that. So again, always designating someone that can really be the active participant for actively watching those children would be great. Next slide, please. B, we're talking about barriers. I know there are some campuses that do have pools on campus. Again, although we've kind of sometimes focused on children, this is just for pools in general, right? Because it can be adults also that experience drowning, or high school kids. So something to think about is if you're familiar with what your school pool looks like, you might want to always just make sure that their barriers are in place and that they're doing what they need to do. And by that, it's really trying to prevent people from getting unauthorized access to the pool, right? That might be people that don't know how to swim. It might be people playing around, but we want to try to avoid this in any way we can. Here you can see some of the creative ways that people do get into the pool. Sometimes kids are just so small that they can fit kind of through the fence. If a barrier is ever damaged, as you can see on that bottom picture there, people are just kind of squeezing underneath the barrier. Again, barrier should be self-closing, self-latching. So if you ever do see a pool on campus where the gates just open, that is most likely not in compliance and a danger to certain people in the area. Next slide, please. C is for classes. The best way, of course, to mitigate this is by trying to help people learn to swim, right? Access to swimming lessons is very difficult to do for some people, but if they have learned from someone, that is going to be one of the best ways to prevent drowning. Parents or guardians or school staff being educated or knowing how to administer CPR is also going to be helpful in preventing drownings. And then we'll talk a little bit about it on the next slide. There's two ways that we're kind of providing resources in this area. On the next slide, we have two resources that we're currently running. We have free swimming lessons that are currently, I think they start in March actually. So that flyer on the left is a flyer that we do have for anyone that would like them. And we're partnering with YMCA to give those free swimming classes. So that could be a resource that could be provided to parents that might be interested in getting their kids into swimming lessons. And then we are also, this one's a little bit newer, so it's not fully in the works yet, but it is upcoming. We also have what we call Schools to Pools program. And we're currently looking for schools that want to partner with being able to have their classes attend these free swimming lessons as a group. So the idea is that we are really getting the kids from their classroom to the swimming pool for a lesson and back to the classroom all within the same day. Again, we're trying to get at least 4 hours of swimming lessons for those kids. So if anyone is interested in that, they're always welcome to reach out to our team, or we can get in contact through whichever way is going to be available. Next slide, please. And then here is the QR code for the free swimming lessons. You do have to use Pima Swim. That's also on the flyer, and that will be available. I can send that over to Chris, so that way we have it available for anyone that would like it, or if I can find a better place to provide it for everyone. Next slide, please. Devices and drains is for D, and we are currently doing this with our inspections. Anytime we go out to pools that we are doing inspections on, we do check the drains to make sure they're compliant. And then devices is going to be really any kind of flotation device or supportive device to prevent drownings. We usually always talk about inflatables, right? They floaties for kids. There are very specific ones that sometimes you want to be aware of. If we go to the next slide, there's a video of a life jacket fitting. We can try playing the right one. And this just kind of goes through, oh, there's sound. This is one of our programs managers' children, but they allowed them to kind of do the fitting for them. And he's really just making sure that it's not too big or not too small. So it should be pretty snug, but not too tight. And the lifeguard kind of goes through the pulling and testing to make sure it's fit appropriately. And then the other video is, I'm afraid to play. I don't know if it's going to be super loud. He was a little fussy at the time. And I think those are the ABCDs of drowning prevention. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Enrique. And that did not help my baby fever. So as we move on, we have Kavina Kamkati talking about our Youth Mental Health Summit that is coming up in April. Kavina, the floor is yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kavina Kamkanti. I am the Youth Population Senior Health Educator with the Youth in Schools team. So yeah, I'm here to share some an event coming up in April called the Youth Mental Health Summit. It is, I believe, our 4th annual summit this year. Next slide, please. So this year's theme is towards a safe community for you and me. It's organized by the Pima Behavioral Health Coalition. It aims to bring together youth-serving professionals from across different sectors to address mental and behavioral health challenges in Pima County's youth. The coalition has their adult coalition side, and they have a youth health action team side, so the youth voice side of the coalition. Next slide, please. So the mission of the PBHC is to build a behavioral health infrastructure that responds to mental and physical and emotional needs of youth in Pima County. We envision that Pima County where all youth can be the healthiest that they can be. Those are the guiding principles on the right side there. Center harm reduction and trauma-informed approaches. Want to work through a justice and equity and inclusion lens. Striving for accountability and transparency towards youth, our members, and the community. The coalition meets monthly on the first Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m., virtual and in-person meetings. Next slide, please. So the summit itself, what is there to expect? So we do youth panels, workshops throughout the day. The workshops have a ton of activities for it. Can be a youth-led workshop or an adult-led workshop or a combination of both. And it's just really talking about that behavioral and mental health services and activities and strategies that a ton of the local organizations share in the summit. The panel, the youth panel that you see on the left side there, that picture, consists, of course, youth, and they just talk about kind of their ideas and their thoughts on how mental health access is in the community as a youth, and kind of giving their advice and tips to youth serving organization adults in the audience. Yeah, next slide. So how to attend. So there's the link right there. That should be clickable. And so it's going to be Thursday, April 2nd. It's an all-day event from 8 to 5. Lunch is provided. It's free. The event is free for youth serving adults across different sectors. And it's going to be at Santa Rita High School. And then you guys can take a picture of the form on the side here, or you guys can actually click that form there. It will bring you to the registration link. And then next slide. And yeah, so if there's any questions or anything, there is my supervisor's email. And if you're interested in being part of the PBHC, you can also email him as well. He's part of the PBHC and can give you some more information. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kavina. With that being said, do we have any questions for Enrique, Kavina, Betsy or Nate, or Megan? Now is the time. And if you don't have any questions, you're also welcome to hop off. Oh, go ahead. I have a question. I can't see who it is.
Okay, this is Alexandria. So I have a question for Karina. Could you show that slide again with that link? That's the one. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I highly recommend doing this event. As somebody who has participated in all 4 years of this event, it is something that's really amazing. It's amazing being able to see the youth and how they are doing community work and how they're advocating for mental health. I think it's super awesome.
And there's no cost, right?
Kavina?
Did I mute myself? Oh.
Yeah, there is no cost to youth
yeah.
serving adults. Yeah, so once you do the registration, you add in your information, your role in the community, and if you are that youth serving adult, it is free for you.
Okay. Thanks again.
Any other questions? Seeing none, of course, if you do have any questions or comments, concerns, please feel free to reach us. You can call us at our direct line at 520-724-7018, or you can always email us at schoolsupport@pima.gov. So with that being said, that is the end of this call. I thank y'all so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and spend an hour. And I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday and a great weekend. So, yes.